You think you need to obsessively focus on the outcome to succeed, chasing goals like an addict. But Buddha discovered the opposite 2,500 years ago. When you stop pursuing the result and completely surrender to the process, the universe conspires in your favor. Buddhist monks call this Wu Wei, effortless action. When you finally understand that the path is the destination, not just leading to it, your entire life changes. Success stops being a battle and becomes a natural flow. Subscribe to the channel, leave your like and comment what part of the world you're watching from, because now I'm going to tell you everything. What is the smallest useful move you can make right now? Most people keep their eyes on a far result and lose contact with the step in front of them. The mind jumps ahead. It starts building scenes, fears, and hopes that sit far from the work at hand. The step on the floor right now fades. A simpler way is to place attention on the next small move only. This is not a slogan. It is a concrete shift in where your eyes, hands, and thoughts land. You ask, what does this task need me to do in this moment? Then you do that one clear action. Nothing extra is added. Nothing needed is left out. The next small move is one clear action that fits the task in the present. It is the smallest action that still counts as real progress. For a page you want to write, it can be one true sentence on the topic in front of you. For a data file you need to clean, it can be one column checked for a single type of error and fixed. For code, it can be one test that fails for a known reason, written in plain words and run once. For a sketch, it can be one line that marks the main shape you must see before anything else. None of these actions require you to hold many ideas at once. Each one is here and now. You can point to it. You can do it. That is the mark of a next small move. The aim of this way of working is clean effort. Clean effort is energy used with no extra push and no drag. Extra push is the strain you add that the task does not need. It shows up as tight shoulders, rushed motions, or talk in the head that says go faster even when speed is not what the task needs. Drag is delay you allow that the task does not need. It shows up as small detours, extra checks at the wrong time, or pauses that do not serve the action. Clean effort cuts both out. The energy goes into the exact cut, word, or click in front of you, not more, not less. When you act this way, the task becomes the guide. You do not beg the future to tell you what to do. You look at the material in your hands, the text on your screen, the list on your table, and you ask, what single action fits now? The answer is often obvious once you ask the right question. If the file is messy, the next move is to name one kind of mess and clear it in one place. If the paragraph is vague, the next move is to name the point in one plain sentence. If the picture is empty, the next move is to place the horizon or to lock one angle or to choose one color for the base. The task tells you its need. Your job is to match your action to that need. Treat the result as a record, not as a target that pulls your mind away. A record is a simple note of what happened. It does not praise. It does not blame. It shows what you chose and what changed. When you finish a move, you can write one plain line in a small log. What you tried, what the state was before, what the state is now. You can keep it short. The power is not in the length. The power is in the facts. A record like this turns results into data you can learn from. It removes the urge to judge the self and replaces it with a view of the work. The record becomes a map of your steps. The map is made of the ground you actually walked, not of a guess. This shift is small in shape and large in effect. It lowers waste because you stop starting and stopping for reasons that do not serve the move. It raises care because all your sense goes into one action. It lets your hands and mind work on the same thing at the same time. You do not have to carry plans and fears while you act. You simply do the next sensible move. Then you look at the record and you choose the next move again. Step by step, the work forms a path. You did not guess the path. You built it by action and by attention to what the task showed. Plans can still exist, but they sit in the background. While you act, the next move leads. This way of working is available to anyone. It does not ask for talent. It does not ask for special tools. It asks for steady focus on what is here now. You can support it with small habits that nudge attention toward the present task and keep it there. You can also remove elements that pull attention away. When you do, ease grows. Effort becomes clearer. Progress becomes visible in a way that feels calm and honest. If you want to feel how this works, try it in a simple scene. Sit down to a piece of work you care about. Do not choose the whole task. Name a tiny scope in one short line. For example, you can choose to tidy one table, write one summary sentence for a report, or check one page for mistakes. Say the scope out loud, even if it feels odd. The voice makes it real. Then do only that. If the mind tries to add more, remind it of the scope. When you finish, stop. Look at what changed. Write one plain line that records the move. You can include what felt hard or easy, but keep blame out of it. If the move did not fit, the record will show it. If it did fit, the record will show that too. This is how the record becomes a guide. In craft work, this approach turns noise into clear cues. A woodworker does not shape the whole piece at once. The next small move can be to mark a line, set a depth stop, or take a light pass and feel the surface. In software, the next small move can be to name a function that needs to exist, or to write one test that proves it is not there yet, or to refactor one line so a check is clearer. In study, the next small move can be to recall one concept without looking, then check it, then correct it once. In each case, clean effort means energy placed exactly where the task needs it, not a bit more, not a bit less. When you place results in the role of record, your relationship with outcomes shifts. You stop asking the result to tell you who you are. You ask it to tell you what happened. That small shift removes a lot of fear. It does not dull care. It increases care because the action is now the main event. You can learn faster because records tell you cause and effect. If your note says you tried to fix a bug by changing a line and the effect was a new error, you have a concrete lead. If your note says you wrote a topic sentence before drafting and the paragraph grew with less strain, you have a concrete lead. Over days, the log of leads tells you which next moves tend to work in your context. You build a simple library of playbooks that are yours because you saw them work. Clean effort also removes a hidden source of waste, doing two things at once. Many people type while they judge the sentence, plan the next section, and check messages. Even when they call this normal, they feel the friction. In clean effort, you match the mode to the need. If you're drafting, you draft. If you're fixing, you fix. If you're checking, you check. Each mode is one move deep. This reduces conflict inside the mind. It stops fights between parts of you that want different things. The work becomes direct and calm. Calm here does not mean slow. It means free of static. A common worry is that small moves are too small. People fear that progress will be slow if they shrink their focus. The reality is the reverse. When you break a task into concrete moves, you start and finish more often. Each finish builds momentum. Each finish teaches you something precise. You avoid long stalls that come from holding too much in mind. You spend less time lost and more time doing. The path of many small finishes is usually faster and steadier than a path of rare big pushes. You can discover this by trying it for a short period and looking at your own record. Let your data answer, not your doubt. You can shape your space to help. The place where you work can either point you at the next small move or pull you sideways. A clear surface, good light, and tools within reach reduce friction. A phone in another room removes a fast path to drag. One window on your screen means the next move is right in front of your eyes. These are simple changes. They lower the chance that your attention will leave the move you chose. The goal is not a perfect room. The goal is a room that does not fight your intention. You can also use tiny cues to start. A cue is a small signal that triggers the action you want. When you sit down, you can take a slow breath and read your one-line scope. When your hands touch the keyboard or the tool, you can say, begin. When you complete the move, you can say, done, and write your one-line record. These cues are not theater. They help your mind know where it is in the flow. Over time, the cue and the action link. The start becomes smoother. You no longer need to push yourself with force. You start because the trigger tells you it is time. If the move you chose feels too big once you begin, you can shrink it at once. You do not need to finish an oversized move to feel honest. Honesty lives in the fit between need and action. If you set out to clean all the data in a table and you see that one column is a knot on its own, you can reset the scope to just that knot. If you set out to write a whole page and your first sentence shows that the core idea is still fuzzy, you can reset the scope to clarify that idea in one sentence and stop there. This is not giving up. It is moving the task and the effort back into fit. If the move goes well and you finish early, you can stop. You do not need to fill the time just to feel tired. Clean effort is not about exhaustion. It is about exactness. You can enjoy the clear end, write the record, and choose a new scope. Stopping at a clean end builds trust in your own process. It proves that you do not need to squeeze the task dry. You only need to do what fits, then stop, then choose again. There is also a place for checks that guard against slips. Even in single moves, small checks help. Before you confirm a change, read the line once for errors. Before you hit send, read the subject once for clarity. Before you close the file, save it with a name you will find. These are not extra moves. They belong to the move. They are part of doing it right. The difference between a check that belongs and a check that drags is simple. A check that belongs serves the main action. A check that drags serves your fear. With a little practice, you can feel the difference. When you adopt this way of working, you may notice your mood steadies. You are no longer chasing a jackpot. You are marking and making small wins that you can see and touch. Each one is a signal that you moved the task forward. You do not need to wait for a big prize to feel progress. This steady progress supports drive without burning you out. It also calms the urge to judge yourself in the middle of an action. Judgment can step aside while you do the move. You can assess later with the record. If your context involves other people, the next small move can still guide you. You can make the next move something that reduces confusion for them as well. Write a clear note that names one decision. Share a thin slice of work that someone can review in a short time. Ask one crisp question that unlocks the next step. When others see you working in small, clear moves, they can match you. The group starts to align by finishes instead of by long plans. You do not need long meetings to know if things are moving. You can see the next finish and the last record. In the middle of all this, it is normal for the mind to wander. You may find yourself daydreaming about the end result again. When that happens, do not fight. Notice it. Gently bring your attention back to the move. You can say the scope again. You can look at the tool in your hand or the cursor on the screen and start the next action. This light return is part of the practice. Over time, the return becomes quicker and less loaded. The task pulls you back because it is clear and close. A few weeks of this can change how you relate to your work. You start to trust small steps because you have a concrete record that they add up. You stop fearing that you need a burst of genius to move. You learn that clean effort, applied many times, builds real things. The record keeps you honest. It shows when you wandered and when you did not. It shows what kinds of small moves help you most in your field. It becomes a quiet teacher. You might still worry that far goals will fade if you focus so close. In practice, the opposite tends to happen. When you act on near moves and keep a record, the shape of the path gets clearer. You can see where you are and what points you have passed. You can pause at the right time and look up to check direction. Then you come back down to the next move. Far goals still exist. They just stop running the show while you are doing the work. This is a relief to the mind. It does not have to juggle everything at once. It holds what matters now. The core of this chapter is simple. Choose one move that fits the task now. Do it with clean effort. Treat the result as a record. Choose again. This loop is small and strong. It does not rest on mood. It does not need a special day. It is always available. It turns vague effort into concrete progress. It also has a clear side effect. When attention holds only the next small move, the mind carries less. When the mind carries less, attention can feel the details that control needs. Precision has room to return. Do you notice your hands get clumsy when your mind jumps to the final result? In the last chapter, we placed attention on the next small move and treated the result as a record. That shift felt simple on the surface, and it changed the tone of effort right away. Now let us look inside the mind and see why that shift works. Your mind has a small space where it keeps things active for a short time. Psychologists call this working memory. It is the place that holds what you are using right now, like the words you are forming, the rule you must follow for a calculation, or the step you are on in a sequence. This space is small. It cannot hold much at once. When you ask it to carry too many items, pieces drop. The drop shows up as small mistakes, slow reactions, or confusion about what comes next. Far goals pull many extra items into that small space. When you think about a big outcome while you act, you invite plans, fears, and guesses into the same space your current step needs. A plan may include future steps. A fear may include what others will think. A guess may include what might happen if you win or lose. Each one takes room. The step in front of you still needs space for a rule, a cue, a tiny choice, and a small check. The space is now crowded. There is less attention left for the exact move. Accuracy falls because the mind cannot hold the key details that control depends on. This drop in accuracy under load has support from research on pressure. Studies by Cian Bylock and other scientists have looked at what happens when people do precise tasks under high stakes. Many of these tasks need careful control, like solving math problems that require keeping small rules in mind, or carrying out a sequence where order matters, or guiding a movement that needs exact timing. The findings are steady. When people fixate on the outcome, performance gets worse on tasks that rely on control. Thoughts about the result use the same mental space that the action needs. The space fills with self-talk and worry. The step loses clarity. Errors rise. Speed or force can rise too, but control drops. The issue is not character. The issue is a limit of the system. You can see this in daily work without any lab. When you try to write while also thinking about how the piece will be judged, the words come out crooked. When you try to enter data while also thinking about a deadline, your eyes skip fields. When you try to give a talk while also checking people's faces for approval, your train of thought breaks. The same pattern holds across fields. Outcome thoughts sit in the same chairs that the steps need. When the chairs are taken, the steps have nowhere to sit. The fix is simple to say and practical to apply. Give the chairs back to the steps. You do that by making the workbench of your mind carry only what the action needs right now. One move, one cue, one check. One move means a single clear action that advances the task by a small but real amount. One cue means a simple signal that starts the move at once, such as a breath and a read of your one-line scope. One check means a brief confirmation that the move reached the state you aimed for, such as a test that passes or a line read that makes sense. This is not a slogan. It is a way to reduce mental load without turning off care. The mind stays on. It just holds fewer items. Precision returns because the small space is no longer crowded. Working memory is not a flaw. It is a useful limit. It forces selection. When you respect that limit, the mind can feel the details of the action. Fine control lives in those details. When you reach for a key on a keyboard, small muscles and small signals guide the motion. When you carry out a rule in a calculation, small checks on each step prevent drift. When you name a decision in a document, a small sense of fit tells you the sentence is clean. These small cues are easy to miss when the space is full of thoughts that do not serve the move. Clearing the space lets those cues show through. Research on pressure adds a second point that matters for daily work. People perform better on well-practiced moves when they do not monitor themselves too closely during the act. Over-monitoring can pull a learned move back into the small space that rule-based steps use. That extra layer takes room it does not need. In contrast, when a move is new or complex, it needs deliberate attention on key points. The balance is simple. Control the parts that need control and let practiced parts run on their own. Outcome fear makes that balance hard because it adds a second layer of watching to everything. Reducing outcome thoughts helps the mind place attention where it is needed and leave the rest alone. How do far goals creep in? They enter through small doors. A thought about what happens if you fail lands. A thought about what people will say lands. A thought about how much time is left lands. None of these are evil. They just do not belong during the move. You can notice them, name them as thoughts, and set them aside. The question that helps is plain. What does this step need from me right now? The answer is one move, one cue, one check. If you repeat that inside the mind, it fills the small space with exactly what the action requires. This is not denial, it is selective focus during a short window where precision matters. Let us make this concrete. You are writing a report. The far goal is approval. That thought brings in images, timelines, and what-if paths. The next small move is a clear topic sentence for one section. The cue is to read the heading, breathe once, and type one sentence that states the point. The check is to read the sentence out loud and ask if it states a point in plain words. During this small window, approval thoughts do not help. They can wait until the section draft is done. The small window ends in less than a minute. You can return to outcome planning later, when the window is closed and the small space is free again. Another scene. You are fixing a bug. The far goal is a clean release. The next small move is to write a test that fails for the right reason. The cue is to name the input and the expected output and run the test once. The check is to confirm the test fails and to read the fail message once. During this move, thoughts about the release do not help. They take space. When you complete the move, you have a clear state. Then you choose the next move and repeat. You are not ignoring the release. You are not letting release thoughts push aside the details that find the cause of the bug. Now consider tasks under explicit pressure, like timed exams, live demos, or tight windows at work. Pressure pulls attention to the score, the clock, the audience, or the boss. Cian Baylock's work uses the phrase choking under pressure to describe the drop that can happen when people attend too much to the outcome during precise acts. This field of research shows that focusing on the process can protect performance. The idea is to keep working memory free for the steps that matter and to keep routine parts on autopilot. You can set simple process cues ahead of time. You can choose one thing to watch in each move. You can avoid internal talk about consequences during the act. These are small rules, but they guard the small space where control lives. You can also spot signs that your small space is overloaded. You may reread the same line twice. You may forget a simple rule you knew a moment ago. You may make small slips you do not usually make. You may feel a tightness in the breath or a rush to finish. These are cues that load is high. When you see them, slow down for a brief moment. Name the next small move again. Use one cue to restart. End with one check. This short reset returns space to the step. It also breaks a spiral. In many cases, a single clear move restores a sense of control better than any pep talk. Some people worry that if they keep far goals out of mind during action, they will lose drive. The evidence points the other way. You can set goals and plans when you are not acting. You can review them during breaks or at the start of the day. During a move, you protect the small space for the move. The plan does not vanish. It waits in a safe place, like a page or a card. Let the page carry the plan. Let your mind carry the step. This division of labor is both simple and strong. It respects the limit of the mind and respects the need for direction. A useful way to support this is to write the plan down in 1 or 2 lines before you start a session. Then you do not need to hold it while you act. The paper or the note holds it for you. You can glance at it between moves and pick the next one. This reduces load and removes anxiety that you will forget the big picture. You will not forget. It is written. You can trust it. Trust reduces noise. Noise is what turns into slips under pressure. Outcome thoughts often come with strong feelings. The feelings are not wrong. They are signals that you care. You can acknowledge them without letting them run the step. A quiet way to do this is to name the feeling in a single word, like worry or rush, and then return to the move. The name is not a judgment. It is a label that helps the mind place the feeling to the side for a moment. This frees a little space. That space is enough to hold the cue and the check. Small freedom is all you need to guide a single step. If you work with others, the same principle applies in group tasks. When a team stares at a distant launch or a public deadline while it tries to carry out a small slice, load rises and quality drops. The team can keep the distant aim in a document or a board and bring it back at agreed times. During the slice, the group keeps attention on the one move that finishes today. This reduces argument about what-if paths that do not matter this hour. It keeps the shared small space clear. It also increases trust, because everyone can see the finish of the present move and can hold each other to simple checks. You might ask how this relates to skill growth. When the small space is clear, learning is easier. The mind can notice the link between what you did and what happened. That link is what builds skill. If the space is crowded with future talk, the link gets lost. You see only a blur. A clear move plus a clear check gives a clean signal. Clean signals turn into memory. Over days, these signals stack into real skill. You need fewer reminders and fewer rules. Some parts become automatic. When parts become automatic, they stop needing the small space. That frees room for the parts that still need control. This is how expert performance grows without strain. There is also a biology side to this story. Stress chemicals rise when you feel threat or see a ticking clock. These chemicals can narrow focus for a short time, but they also disrupt learning if they stay high. On the other side, signals of progress support steady drive. When you break work into small moves and see small finishes, you give the body many signs that things are moving. This steadies mood and energy. You can feel this as a calm kind of alertness where effort lands easily. This is not magic or hype. It is the body responding to clear, frequent signals that match what you are doing. Some practical lines can keep the space clear during your day. Before you start a block of work, choose the single move you will do first. Say it out loud. As you start, use a brief cue like a breath or a phrase. While you act, hold your attention to what your eyes and hands are doing. When you finish, do one check that the state changed as intended. If stray thoughts pull, notice and return. If load rises, pause for a breath and reset the scope to something even smaller. Then proceed. If the move is complete, stop cleanly and log what happened. This is the same loop from the last chapter, now seen through the lens of mental load. You can test this approach with a simple challenge. Pick a task you often do with mistakes, like entering numbers, revising a paragraph, or aligning layers in a design. For one short session, apply the rule of one move, one cue, one check. Keep outcome thoughts off to the side and return to the step each time they land. Then look at the result. Count the slips or the time saved, not to judge yourself, but to see the effect on accuracy. Many people find that error rates fall and ease rises without any extra time. The steps feel cleaner because the mind is not trying to carry a bundle while it threads a needle. It is fair to ask whether this counsel fits all kinds of work. It may not fit work that is pure brainstorming with no constraints. It does fit almost any task that has a sequence, a rule, or a need for control. The more a task needs precise attention, the more it benefits from keeping the small space light. The goal is not to suppress thoughts. The goal is to place them at the right time. Planning belongs to planning time. Action belongs to action time. Records belong to review time. When each thing sits in its time, pressure has fewer hooks to grab. When you start to practice this, keep your stance open and curious. You do not need to force the mind to behave. You guide it gently by giving it a clear object and a short window. If it wanders, you bring it back. The return is the practice. Each return is a rep that makes the next return quicker. Over days, your default becomes lighter and more exact. You feel less need to hold the whole world in your head while you type a line or move a cursor. The small space breathes. Clean effort begins to show its value not only in what you finish, but in how your mind feels while you finish. The work becomes easier to enter and easier to leave. You avoid the heavy drag of constant evaluation. You avoid the shaky rush of last-minute scrambles. You build a habit of focused starts and clean stops. That habit protects precision on ordinary days and on hard days. It also leaves a trail of small wins that your body can feel. Those wins matter more than you might think. They shape the signals that guide focus and drive from the inside out. Do you feel your drive rise and fall during the day even when the task stays the same? In the last chapter, we cleared space in the mind by holding only the next small move. That choice helped accuracy because fewer items fought for attention. There is another layer that supports this way of working. It lives in the body and the brain. Certain chemicals shift up and down based on what you focus on and how you work. These shifts do not decide your fate, but they do shape how easy it is to keep steady effort. When you understand the basics, you can set your process so that your own biology helps you rather than fights you. Two signals matter a lot for daily work. One is dopamine, one is cortisol. Dopamine is a chemical that rises when the brain detects signs of progress or learns that a step moved you forward. It helps you learn and helps you keep going. Cortisol is a hormone that rises when the body senses stress, threat, or tight pressure. A short rise can help you focus and move. A long rise can make it hard to learn and hard to stay calm. These two signals are not good or bad by themselves. They are part of how the body manages effort. The way you run your day can nudge them toward a pattern that supports clear, steady work. Let us start with dopamine. When you complete a small step and you see a real result, the brain notes that something worked. It releases a bit of dopamine. That bit says, pay attention to this pattern and do it again. This is one reason small wins feel good. The feeling is not only emotion, it is also a signal that learning is taking place. The brain strengthens the links that produce the result. If you build your work from small, clear steps with visible finishes, you give the brain many clean signals of progress. Dopamine rises in small, steady pulses. This supports drive without needing big prizes. You start to enjoy the act of finishing concrete steps because your body rewards each finish with a signal that says keep going. Now, look at cortisol. When a deadline is tight, when the stakes feel high, or when you tell yourself that only a big win counts, cortisol tends to rise. In a short burst, it can tighten focus and raise energy. In long stretches, it can make sleep worse, narrow attention too much, and block memory. Many people know this state as a tense, keyed-up feeling that does not produce clear work. The hands rush while the mind is not fully present. Mistakes repeat. It is not a lack of care. It is a chemistry pattern that makes careful control hard to hold. You cannot banish cortisol. You can shape conditions so that spikes are brief and the baseline is calm. The choice to focus on the next small move lines up with this chemistry. Each small finish gives a real progress signal. Dopamine rises a bit in response. The rise makes it easier to start the next step and easier to learn from it. At the same time, the small scope keeps pressure contained. The body does not need to flood the system with stress signals to push you through a giant, vague task. You still care about the larger aim, but you let the next step carry the load during action. This keeps cortisol closer to a short and useful spike at the moment of effort, followed by a quick return to baseline when you complete the move and log it. there is another piece that matters. Many work systems feed on variable jackpots. A variable jackpot is a big, unpredictable reward that may appear after many tries or may not appear at all. Social notifications, public likes, and large sales often arrive on this kind of pattern. The reward is not in your control. The timing is not in your control. Your mind starts to guess and to check for signs. Guessing pulls attention away from the step you can do now. The body learns to seek the next hit rather than to build the next move. Dopamine spikes become uneven. Mood swings. Focus wobbles. Over time, this makes steady work harder to hold. It is not a moral issue. It is a design issue. You can design your day to favor frequent real signals of progress and to reduce variable jackpots. Set scopes that you can complete in a short window. Mark each one done in a place you can see. Keep a simple record of finishes, not for praise, but for data. This gives the brain a trail of concrete signals that something moved. If you rely on a delayed, unpredictable result to tell you that work mattered, your chemistry will ride that same pattern. If you give yourself many small checks that are tied to actions you control, your chemistry will follow that pattern instead. The difference shows up in how easy it feels to start, how calm you feel while doing, and how well you remember what you learned. Learning ties closely to these signals. Dopamine helps the brain store new patterns. It says this piece mattered, keep it. When your day has many small wins, you create many chances for that tag to attach to the exact behavior you want to keep. You refactor a function and a test turns green. You run a drill and your recall improves. You adjust a sentence and the point reads clean. Each event is small. Each event says, keep this path. In contrast, when you wait for a far result that may or may not come, the brain has fewer precise moments to tag. Even when a big reward arrives, the link to the exact habits that produced it is muddy. You learn less from each day because the signals are too far from the steps. Stress signals affect memory in the other direction. Short tension can sharpen the senses. Extended tension can impair the brain systems that store and retrieve knowledge. If you push yourself through long blocks with the sense that everything is on the line, you may feel busy, but your retention of details will be weaker. This is why spacing work and building clean starts and stops helps. Each start is a brief rise in arousal that supports entry. Each finish is a small release that marks closure. The body learns that effort has a clear rhythm. That rhythm supports memory and focus without needing a huge push. You can test this inside a single day. In the morning, set one plain scope you can complete in a short block. Use a simple cue to start. Take a slow breath. Read the scope. Begin. When you finish, do a brief check tied to the action. Write one line in a log. Notice how the body feels after this clean cycle. Many people report a light, clear state with a sense of forward motion. That is the system rewarding a real finish. Later, try a block where you keep a far result in mind and do not mark small finishes. Notice the difference in energy and clarity. Do not judge, just observe. The point is to feel how your own system responds so you can adjust your process based on direct experience. Breath can help manage these signals. 3 slow breaths at a start reduce baseline arousal for many people. The effect is small and quick, which is what you want. You do not need to change your life. You need a short cue that tells the body we are starting this step now. The cue allows the mind to drop extra thoughts. It also increases the chance that the stress spike will be tied to the action rather than to stray worries. At the end of the move, a small pause helps the system settle. Then you can choose the next step without carrying extra tension forward. Your tools can help too. Tools that provide fast, precise feedback create more progress signals. A spell checker that flags a typo as you type gives an immediate cue to adjust. A unit test that fails for a clear reason tells you what to fix. A small quiz that scores recall in seconds tells you whether the drill worked. These signals are not about praise. They are about timing and specificity. The closer the feedback is to the action, the stronger the learning signal. This reduces the need for stress to push you because the work itself produces steady guidance. Over time, your mind starts to expect useful signals from your own actions. That expectation supports focus. There is a trap worth naming. Many people try to create motivation by promising themselves a big reward after a long push. This can work for a short period, but it often teaches the body to wait for the treat instead of to enjoy the act of doing the step well. The large reward also comes late, so the learning signal is weak. A better path is to let the task itself generate small wins that you can feel and see. The satisfaction of a clear unit test, a clean paragraph, a merged table that passes a check, or a drawing with a resolved line is its own reward because the brain tags it as progress. If you want to add a small external reward, keep it simple and predictable, such as a short break or a cup of tea after a set number of blocks. Predictable rewards cooperate with learning. Unpredictable rewards train guessing. Your environment can either add random signals or remove them. A phone in view often pulls the mind into a scan for jackpots. Random notifications do the same. Even when you do not touch the device, the body is ready for a cue. Removing that cue makes focus easier. This is not about willpower. It is about designing for fewer random triggers so that your own actions supply most of the signals. A single window on your screen, tools within reach, and a clear space reduce stray inputs. Then the strongest cues are the ones you created on purpose: the scope line, the breath, the check, and the log. Some people ask whether this focus on small steps and steady chemistry will make them soft or slow. The concern is fair. The answer is that calm is not the same as low effort. It is directed effort. When chemistry is steady, you can apply full energy to the step that matters. You do not waste energy on constant shifts or on fear loops. You can still move fast when the task needs speed. You can still push when a crunch day arrives. The difference is that you do not hold the crunch state by default. You use it briefly and then return to a stable base. That base protects learning, mood, and health. It also makes high effort more effective when you do need it. Another question is whether this applies to creative work. It does. Creativity grows from a cycle of generation and testing. Small moves and fast feedback feed this cycle. Each small finish is a test. Each test produces a signal. The brain learns which paths are promising. Dopamine tags the useful paths. Cortisol stays low enough that your sense of play survives. Play here means curiosity and openness, not lack of rigor. It means you can try things without fear taking the wheel. The record of steps helps too. It lets you see which experiments led somewhere. That record becomes a quiet guide for future sessions. Health matters for these signals as well. Sleep, food, light, and movement all affect baseline chemistry. This book is not a health guide, but it is honest to say that steady work is easier when the basics are in place. Even small adjustments help. A short walk at midday, a glass of water on the desk, light that does not strain the eyes, and a regular sleep time add up. You do not need perfection. You need enough stability that your work process can do its job. When the basics wobble, you can still work in small moves, but you may need to shrink scope and add more breaks. The key is to keep your process kind and realistic so that it matches your current state. Keep a light touch with all of this. Biology is complex. People differ. What works well for you may differ from a friend. That is why the record matters. It lets you test small changes and see their effects without guesswork. You can try a slight change in scope size for a week and note how your energy feels. You can try a different time of day for deep work and note the difference. You can test a new feedback tool and see if errors drop. The goal is not to chase a perfect state. The goal is to reduce friction and increase the number of real progress signals your day produces. As you practice, you may notice a new kind of trust forming. It is not a belief, it is a felt sense that when you begin a clear step, your mind and body will join you. This trust grows because the signals you create are consistent. You start, you finish, you log, you repeat. Dopamine tags the rhythm. Cortisol stays in check most of the time. The work feels lighter, not because the tasks are smaller, but because you stopped pulling your attention into far-off guesses and you stopped asking stress to do the job of structure. Structure now lives in the steps and in the way you mark them. If you want one simple line to hold in mind from this chapter, here it is. Give your brain frequent, honest signs of progress and keep stress spikes short. Frequent and honest means tied to real steps you control. Short means brief rises that end with a clear stop. This is exactly what the next small move with a clean check and a one-line log provides. It is also the root of a deeper idea that will guide the rest of this book. When energy goes only where the task needs it, signals stay steady, learning deepens, and effort stops fighting itself. There is a classic name for effort that lands this way, and it points to action that fits the task in front of you, without extra push and without drag. Do you ever feel you are pushing too hard or holding back when a task only needs a simple move? We just saw how attention on the next small move clears mental load and steadies your drive. There is a name for effort that lands in the right place without strain or delay. The term is Wu Wei. It comes from early Taoist texts. In plain words, it means action that fits the task at hand. It is not idle time. It is not avoidance. It is not drifting. It is effort that goes into the exact move in front of you, no more and no less. When effort fits, the step feels direct. When effort does not fit, the step feels heavy or slack. You can learn to feel the fit and adjust until energy and task meet cleanly. Wu Wei is a practical guide, not a mystical state. It asks a simple question at each moment. What does this task need from me right now? Then it asks for one clear action that matches that need. This is the same spirit as the next small move, now with a focus on the quality of effort. Clean effort has no extra push and no drag. Extra push is the force you add that the task does not need. Drag is the delay you keep that the task does not need. Both waste energy and both reduce accuracy. Wu Wei removes both by bringing your action into line with the present need. How do you notice extra push? You can feel tension in the face or shoulders. You can hear a voice in the head ordering speed at a moment that calls for care. You can see hands moving fast while the eyes are not reading. You can sense an urge to finish before the step is ready to finish. These are signals that effort is ahead of the task. The fix is to match the pace to the need. If the step is selection, you slow enough to see options and choose one. If the step is typing, you keep a steady rhythm and let the fingers follow the sentence you named. If the step is checking, you read what is there and confirm a detail. You remove the force that does not serve the move. How do you notice drag? You can feel hesitation that does not add clarity. You can watch yourself open a new tab, rearrange tools, or rethink the plan when the move is already clear. You can hear a voice in the head asking for one more minute before starting. These are signals that effort is behind the task. The fix is to step in and begin the move you already know you need to make. If the step is selection, you select. If the step is typing, you type. If the step is checking, you check. You remove the delay that does not serve the move. The apply then match sequence is short. You name what the task needs here and now. You match your action to that need. You feel whether the move lands cleanly. If not, you adjust. The need can be something very small. It can be selection, which means choosing a scope, a file, an example, or a direction. It can be typing, which means producing the words or code or labels that the step needs. It can be checking, which means reading once, running a test, or verifying a field. It can be naming, which means giving a clear name to a function, a file, a layer, or a section. It can be placing, which means putting a line on a page or an item in a layout. Each of these micro needs is simple. Wu Wei means you do only the one that is needed now. When the need is selection, you do not analyze beyond selection. You look at the options that matter and you choose one. You do not drift into writing a paragraph when you are still choosing a topic sentence. You do not drift into refactoring code when you are still choosing a failing test. You do not drift into fixing a diagram when you are still choosing which diagram belongs. You hold the mode of selection until the choice is made. Then you stop and name the next need. When the need is typing, you do not plan the whole page in your head. You type the line or the block you already chose. You keep to the scope you named, such as one sentence that states a point, one description that names a function, or one commit message that says what changed. You do not evaluate style while you type a first pass. You do not check the rest of the document while you lay down one paragraph. Typing is a mode that moves the step into form. You give it clean energy and let it finish. When the need is checking, you do not rewrite. You read what is there. You confirm a rule, a number, a test, or a link. You compare the current state to the state you aimed for. You either pass the check or you do not. If you do not pass, you name a fix as the next move. Checking is a mode that protects quality. It needs calm eyes and a clear target. It does not need speed or force. It needs exactness. These modes exist in every craft. In writing, the modes show up as choosing a point, typing a topic sentence, and checking clarity. In software, the modes show up as choosing a behavior to verify, writing a test, and running it. In data work, the modes show up as choosing a column and an error type, writing a clean rule, and checking sample rows. In design, the modes show up as choosing a layout, drawing the main shapes, and checking alignment. In each scene, effort fits when the mode matches the need. The felt sense of fit becomes a guide you can trust. When effort fits, breath is steady and attention stays with the object. Hands move without extra rush. The mind is quiet about outcomes. You do not need to force yourself to continue. You see the next move because the current one is clear. When effort does not fit, the signs are also clear. Breath is tight or shallow. Attention keeps leaving the object. Hands either fly past details or freeze. The mind talks about everything except the step. These are not moral signs. They are practical signals. They tell you to adjust the fit. Adjustment can be small and quick. If you feel extra push, relax the grip, drop the shoulders, and speak the scope again in one plain line. If you feel drag, count one breath and begin. If you feel confusion, shrink the scope until you can name the step in simple words. If the tool in your hand is wrong for the need, switch to the right one. If your eyes feel flooded, hide the parts you do not need and leave only the target in view. Each adjustment aims at the same goal. You want effort and task to match. Matching intensity matters too. Some steps need a firm pace, some steps need a slow pace. The task tells you which one is right. If you are typing a clean line you already chose, a firm pace helps. If you are checking a formula, a slow pace helps. Do not impose one pace on all steps. Let the need set the pace. If you notice speed rising when a step needs care, remind yourself of the check you will do at the end. If you notice speed falling when a step needs a push, remind yourself of the clear finish that is 2 or 3 minutes away. Intensity that fits the step keeps accuracy high and effort low. Wu Wei is not a call to be passive. It is a call to align. If a step needs courage, you bring it. If a step needs patience, you bring it. You do not add anger or fear to the mix. You do not add guilt or pride. Those feelings can exist and you can acknowledge them, but they do not guide the hand. The task guides the hand. This focus makes space for calm, even when the stakes are real. Calm here means your energy goes into the work itself. That is why care rises and waste falls when you act this way. Consider a short example. You have a messy data table. Wu Wei asks what the table needs now. You see that there are missing values in one column. Selection is the need. You select that column. Now the need shifts to typing a rule that fills each missing value with a chosen default. You type the rule. Now the need shifts to checking. You sample rows to confirm that the rule worked and did not touch values that were already present. Each move fits the need in order. Extra push would be to rewrite the whole pipeline while you are only fixing one column. Drag would be to open messages before you run the check. Fit is narrow and precise. Another example. You are drafting a section of a report. The need is to name the point of this section. You state the point in one sentence without dressing it up. The need then becomes to type a paragraph that supports that sentence with one piece of evidence. You type it. The need then becomes to check if the paragraph actually supports the sentence. You read aloud and listen. If it does not, the next need is to adjust the sentence or the paragraph until they match. You are not drifting into layout or tone while you are still making the point true. You can bring Wu Wei into how you decide what to do next. When you finish a move, do not guess what would look good. Look at the state of the work. The task shows the next need. If you just made a change, a check might be next. If you just passed a check, a new selection might be next. The line between moves is clean. This cleanliness has a calm effect on the nervous system. Start and finish are both clear. There is less bleed between modes. This reduces internal conflict and keeps attention stable. Your surroundings can support this fit. A clear surface, a single window, and tools in reach reduce the chance that drag sneaks in. Fewer open choices make it easier to match mode to need. If you must keep reference material open, hide it while you type. If you must keep a chat app open for a short window, silence it while you check. You are not chasing perfection. You are removing small pulls that break the fit. Each small pull you remove gives you a bit more room to feel the task and to act without waste. Some people worry that this approach will make them slow. The opposite is common in practice. When you stop wasting energy on extra push and drag, the same time produces more progress. Moves finish faster because they are not fighting the wrong mode. Errors drop because checks happen in the right place. You feel less tired because you carried only what the step needed. The point is not speed for its own sake. The point is clean effort. Speed is a side effect of fit over time. Others worry that this approach is too rigid. They fear it will block creativity. In practice, it frees it. When you let selection be selection and typing be typing, the mind is free to generate options during selection and free to flow during typing. You are not splitting your attention. You are giving full attention to the right thing at the right time. Creativity needs space and needs checks. This way of working gives both. You try small ideas in a clear window, then you check them in a clear window. You learn fast because the loop is tight and honest. Feelings still rise. You may feel worry, pride, doubt, or joy during a move. You do not need to push them away. You name them and you return to the step. The return is what matters. Each return strengthens your ability to place effort. Over time, the return becomes quick and kind. You are not fighting yourself. You are guiding yourself. The guide is the need of the task, not an image in your head. This keeps your process grounded in reality. You can use your record to sharpen the sense of fit. After each block, write one line about the move and the result. Add a brief note about the fit if you want, using simple words. You can write fit was clean, or effort was heavy, or drag showed up. You do not need to grade yourself. You are noticing patterns. After some days, read a few lines. You will see which moves tend to invite extra push and which tend to invite drag. You can plan small adjustments based on those observations. You can also see the effect of each change without guesswork. Tools can be tuned for fit. If a tool demands many steps for a simple need, switch to a simpler one for that move. If a tool hides important details during checking, use a tool that exposes them. The goal is not fancy gear. The goal is a path from need to action to check with the fewest steps that still protect quality. Even a small change, like a text editor with clear contrast, can reduce strain and help you stay with the move. When tools match needs, Wu Wei becomes easier to hold. This principle scales from seconds to days. In a day, you can plan a thin set of moves that each finish in a short window. During each window, you match effort to the need. Between windows, you rest or plan. Across a week, you can look at your record and adjust which types of moves you schedule in the morning and which you place later. You are shaping a rhythm that respects your mind and body while meeting the task. Wu Wei is the thread that ties these choices together. Sometimes a situation demands a hard push. You can still act with fit. You set a clear scope. You decide which checks are vital and which can wait. You work at a firm pace within that scope. You do not add flailing. You do not add delay. The push becomes focused rather than frantic. When the window ends, you stop cleanly and recover. This protects quality and protects you. The principle stays the same. Energy meets need. There is a simple question you can use many times a day to return to Wu Wei. What is the smallest next action that fits this task, and how can I do it with no extra push and no drag? Ask it, answer it in one line, and begin. If you drift, ask it again. If you tense up, ask it again. It never gets old because tasks keep changing. The question keeps you aligned with what is real, not with what you fear or what you hope. It puts attention where control lives, which is in the details of the present move. As you practice, you will start to notice the moment when effort and task click into place. You will feel it sooner and sooner. You will also notice misfit faster. You will catch yourself adding extra push 3 words into a sentence, not 3 paragraphs later. You will catch yourself delaying a check for no reason, and you will do it now. These quick adjustments keep your path clean. They save time and reduce errors without any drama. The work takes on a calm tone. Calm here means direct contact with the task. Wu Wei can enter the way you start. A clean start sets the fit from the first seconds. You sit, you place tools within reach. You write a short scope in one line so the need is plain. You take a few slow breaths so the body settles. You begin the first move. You end with a small check. You log one line. These simple steps help your mind and hands meet the task without extra push and without drag. They make the felt sense of fit show up early, and they make it easier to hold through the block. Over days, this kind of start turns into a habit that protects effort and makes progress visible. Do you find it hard to start even when you know the next small move? We have learned to keep attention on the next small move, to protect the small space of the mind, and to let effort fit the task without extra push or drag. A short start routine brings all of that into action from the first minute. It turns a good idea into a concrete set of steps that begin the work in a clean way. The routine does not need special tools. It uses simple acts that anyone can do. The goal is to make starting easy, to give the mind one clear target, to put effort where the task needs it, and to leave a small record you can trust. Begin by sitting in a stable position where your tools are within reach. If you write, that means your keyboard or pen. If you code, that means your editor and test runner. If you draw, that means your pad or tablet and the tool you will use. Place what you need close by so you do not break the first minutes with a search. This small setup respects the idea of fit. The need is to start. The action is to make starting smooth. Now write your scope in one short sentence. Scope here means the exact move you will do in this block. Keep it small enough that you can finish it in a short window. Use plain words. You can say, draft one topic sentence for the section on cost. You can say, write a failing test that shows the bug in the discount rule. You can say, clean the missing values in the price column. You can say, sketch the main shape of the header image. The key is to name one action that you can point to at the end and say, done. This one sentence is your anchor. It gives your mind a single object. It also keeps your hands from drifting into side moves that do not serve this step. Take 3 slow breaths. Inhale with a count that feels natural. Exhale with a count that is a bit longer. Do this 3 times. These breaths are not a ceremony. They mark the start and lower the background noise for a moment. They tell the body that now you will do the named move. You do not need to feel special. You just need a small, clear start. Set a timer for 25 minutes. The timer creates a safe box for effort. For this short span, you do only the scope you named. You do not add extra tasks. You do not hold the whole project in mind. You do not check messages. You act in the mode that fits the scope. If your scope is selection, you select. If your scope is typing, you type. If your scope is checking, you check. If your scope is naming, you name. The timer holds you in one mode long enough to finish a real step and short enough that the mind does not fear a long stretch. Begin at once. Read your one-line scope out loud. Bring your eyes to the object. Touch the tool. Make the first move. If a stray thought about outcomes or opinions arrives, note it and return to the scope. If your pace rises beyond what the step needs, ease it. If your pace falls and you hesitate, nudge it. The rule is effort that fits, not force. You are not making a display. You are moving the task one small unit forward. If the scope turns out to be too large, shrink it without blame. You can cut it in half. You can switch from the whole section to one topic sentence. You can switch from the whole table to one column. You can switch from the full bug fix to one failing test. Adjust as soon as you know. Do not wait. Fit lives in the present, not in your plan from 5 minutes ago. Shrinking the scope is not a failure. It is a return to the next small move that the task can support right now. If you finish early, stop the timer. You do not need to fill the time for its own sake. Clean effort ends when the need ends. Take a brief breath, enjoy the clear end, then log the move. If you still have energy and time, write a new one-line scope and begin a new short block. If you do not, take a short rest. The important thing is to keep the shape of a clean start and a clean stop. This shape teaches the body that effort has edges. The edges protect precision and recovery. When the timer ends, stop even if you are mid-sentence. That stop is a skill. It keeps you from sliding into a vague zone where you half work and half worry. At the stop, do a brief check tied to your scope. If your scope was a topic sentence, read it out loud once and ask if it states the point plainly. If your scope was a failing test, run it and see the fail message. If your scope was a data clean rule, sample a few rows and confirm that the change took place and that nothing else was touched. The check is short and direct. It is part of the move. Now log one line. The log has 4 parts. Write the date in words. Write the scope in your one-line sentence. Write the minutes you actually worked in words. Write the result in a few words that state the outcome. You can say, Monday, scope was draft topic sentence for cost section 20 minutes. Sentence states the point and reads clean. You can say, Tuesday, scope was write failing test for discount bug, 15 minutes. Test fails as expected with clear message. You can say, Wednesday, scope was clean missing values in price column, 25 minutes. Missing values filled and sample rows confirm no other changes. Keep the tone neutral. You are not praising or blaming. You are recording what happened. This one-line log builds proof of work. It shows where your time went and what moved. It also becomes a guide for what to do next. If the log shows that a topic sentence is done, the next move may be to draft the paragraph that supports it. If the log shows that a failing test exists, the next move may be to change the function to pass the test. If the log shows that a column is clean, the next move may be to choose the next column or to run a summary. You do not have to guess. The work itself tells you. The record keeps the plan safe so the mind does not need to carry it during action. This routine is short on purpose. If it grows heavy, you will avoid it. Keep it light so you can repeat it many times in a week. You can tune the timer if needed. If 25 minutes is too long on a hard day, use 20 minutes or 15 minutes. If the day is smooth, you can use 30 minutes. The key is that each block has a single scope and a clean stop with a log. Do not add more steps. Do not add rewards that depend on luck. The finish is the reward because it is real and tied to your action. The log is the record that keeps you honest and calm. Interruptions will happen. When they do, do not try to pretend nothing happened. Note the slip in your log with one short phrase, such as call arrived at minute 10, then reset. Read your scope again. Take one breath. Start the move from the top or from the last clean point. The aim is not perfection. The aim is to return quickly to fit. Each return is a skill. The more you practice it, the faster and kinder it becomes. You may hear an inner voice that asks for a perfect setup before you start. Answer it with action. The routine itself is the setup. Sit. Write the one-line scope. breathe, start. You will adjust as you move. You will learn what time of day feels best for deep work. You will learn how big a scope is right for a first block. You will learn which checks prevent rework. Let the log show you, not a guess. A week of short logs will teach more than a long plan that you cannot test. This routine also supports the chemistry that steadies effort. Each start sets a small rise in alertness. Each finish provides a real progress signal. The rhythm of these signals helps the brain tag useful patterns with dopamine and keeps long stress spikes in check. You do not need to chase a rare jackpot to feel progress. You see it every time you write a line in your log. Calm grows because your plan lives on the page and in the next move, not in a cloud of worry. You can shape your space to help the routine land. Before a block, clear the surface enough that the target is the only thing in front of you. Put your phone in another room if you can. Close other windows. Place a glass of water within reach. Adjust the light so your eyes do not strain. These small changes reduce the chance that drag or extra push will creep in. They make it easier for your body to know that this short window is for the scope you named. Keep language plain in your scope lines. Avoid vague words. Instead of improve section, write draft topic sentence for section 2. Instead of debug issue, write failing test for null price case. Instead of clean data, write fill missing values in price column with chosen default and sample 5 rows. Plain language removes debate inside the mind. You know what done looks like before you start. That clarity speeds starts and keeps checks quick. If you work with others, you can still use this routine. Share your scope line with a teammate at the start of a block if that helps align. At the end, share your one-line log. Keep it short so it does not turn into a side task. This simple exchange builds trust because it shows a finish, not a promise. It also helps others see what next move will help the group. When many people use small scopes and clean stops, work surfaces early and blockers are found sooner. Some people ask whether a timer adds pressure. It can if you use it as a threat. Do not do that. Use it as a boundary. The timer ends the block. It does not grade you. If you need to shrink scope halfway through, do it. If you need to stop early, stop and log what happened. The log is the measure you use to learn, not the timer itself. Over time, you will find a length that fits your task and your pace. Others ask whether logging eats time. A single line takes a few seconds. The value you get back is much larger than the time it costs. The log keeps direction clear. It reduces rumination. It provides data for small experiments. You can test a slightly smaller scope size for a few days and see if finishes increase. You can test a different time of day for hard tasks and see if the check pass rate changes. Each change is small and low risk because the log will show whether it helps. You do not need to argue with yourself. You can look at your own record. This routine also respects the idea of wu-wei. You place effort only where the task needs it. The breath and the scope remove extra push. The timer and the clean stop remove drag. The check places care in the right spot. The log lets results become records, not orders. The day gains a clear rhythm. You start. You finish, you learn, you adjust. The work feels straightforward because each block has one purpose. You can use the routine across fields. A student can scope a recall drill for one set of terms and check with a short quiz. A nurse can scope one chart check and confirm key fields before moving on. A baker can scope dough temperature at mix end and log the number with a note about feel. A manager can scope one decision memo and log whether the decision is stated in one sentence. The pattern is the same. A short start, a narrow scope, a clean finish, a one-line record. If you want to add a small layer of habit to this, tie the start to a fixed cue. When the clock shows the hour, sit and write the scope. When you open the editor, take 3 breaths and begin. When you place the notebook on the table, write the one-line scope at the top of the page. Clear cues remove debate. They help the routine run without extra willpower. You save energy for the move itself. As your log grows, it becomes a simple map of your work. You will see strings of scopes that cluster around certain skills. You will see where checks fail and where they pass. You will see which times of day show more finishes. You can use these patterns to shape future blocks. If mornings show strong starts, place harder scopes there. If afternoons show more slips, shrink scopes there. The map lets you make grounded choices. The routine ends each block with a short decision. You can stop and rest, or you can choose a new one-line scope and run another short block. Do not string too many blocks without a pause. A minute or two to stand, get water, or step outside helps the mind reset. This small care supports memory and keeps quality steady. The point is not to grind. The point is to place clean effort many times without burning out. You can also use the routine to prepare for tasks that need careful control. Before a live demo, run a short block to write a simple checklist for the demo steps. Before a meeting, run a short block to write the one decision you need from the group. Before a study session, run a short block to select the set of items you will recall. The routine is flexible. It sets a clear start and lands a small finish. That is enough to raise the chance that the larger session will go well because the first move will be solid. With time, the start routine will feel natural. It will become a doorway into focus. You will sit, write one line, breathe, set a short timer, and begin. The simplicity is the strength. It reduces choices, protects working memory, generates steady progress signals, and places effort exactly where the task needs it. It also prepares the ground for a second layer of improvement that can speed learning. When you can start cleanly and finish small steps, you can take a skill apart and work on one part at a time. You can also add quick checks that show errors right away so you correct them faster and carry less doubt. This is how small, honest steps turn into real gains. Do you know exactly what to practice in the next 20 minutes? You now have a clean way to start and finish small steps. You can set a simple scope, breathe, work in a short block, check, and log. With that base in place, you can make progress faster by shaping practice itself. The key is to split a big skill into parts, work one part at a time, and build fast feedback into each attempt. When you do this, you remove noise, you see cause and effect, and you learn more from each minute you spend. A sub-skill is a small part of a larger skill that you can name and test on its own. In language learning, a sub-skill can be recalling verbs in the past tense without notes. In writing, a sub-skill can be drafting a clear topic sentence. In coding, a sub-skill can be writing a test that shows a bug in a precise way. In data work, a sub-skill can be merging two tables on a single shared column and proving the merge worked with sample rows. Naming a sub-skill brings the task into focus. It also lets you define a small test that tells you if you passed or not yet. A clear test is a simple check tied to the sub-skill. It should be easy to run and easy to read. For a language drill, the test can be recall 20 verbs in the past tense in under 5 minutes, no notes. For a writing drill, the test can be write one topic sentence that states a point in plain words and reads clean when spoken out loud. For a coding drill, the test can be write one failing test that fails for the right reason and shows a clear message. For a data drill, the test can be merge two tables on a shared column and confirm 5 known pairs appear as expected. Each test removes doubt because it does not rely on a vague feeling. It says yes or not yet. A time budget keeps practice honest. Set a short window for one drill. 20 minutes works well for many people, but you can use 15 minutes or 30 minutes. The exact number is less important than the fact that it is short and clear. A short window respects the idea of the next small move and protects working memory. It also pushes you to define a test that fits the time you have. You do not need to master the whole skill in one sitting. You need to pass a small test that fits the sub-skill you chose. Now bring your start routine into this. Sit down with tools in reach. Write your scope in one sentence that names the sub-skill and the test. Take 3 slow breaths. Set your timer. Begin. During the block, touch only the sub-skill you named. Hold the mode that fits it. If the sub-skill is recall, you recall without notes. If the subskill is typing, you type the line or code you planned. If the subskill is checking, you run the check and read the result. When you finish, run the test. Log one line that states the date, the scope, the minutes, and the result. Keep the words plain. The log will become your map. Fast feedback is the engine that makes this way of practice work. Fast feedback means you get a clear signal right after the action. The signal tells you what went wrong and what to change. It lands close in time, it is specific to what you did, and it points to the behavior to adjust. This matters because delays blur the link between action and result. When the signal arrives late, you cannot see which step caused which effect. You guess. Guessing slows learning. When the signal arrives fast, you can adjust on the next attempt. The loop between doing and learning becomes short. Research supports the power of feedback. Meta-analyses in education, including work by John Hattie, rank feedback among the strongest tools for learning. The reason is simple. Feedback closes the gap between your goal and your action. The closer in time and the more specific it is, the more it helps. You do not need complex systems to get this benefit. You need tools and tests that show you errors right away and show you the fix in plain terms. Many tools already do this job. A spell checker highlights a typo as you type. That is fast feedback. A unit test is a small code check that confirms one piece of code does what you expect. It fails when the behavior is wrong and passes when it is right. That is fast feedback. A linter reads your code and points to common mistakes or style rules. It shows the line and the fix. That is fast feedback. A tiny quiz in a language app that scores recall in seconds is fast feedback. Build these tools into your drills. Do not wait for a weekly review to learn what went wrong. Learn it in the minute it happens. Let us walk through a language drill. You choose the subskill recall verbs in the past tense without notes. You set the test recall 20 verbs in under 5 minutes with at least 18 correct. You write your scope in one line. You take 3 slow breaths. You set a 5-minute timer. You start recalling and writing verbs on a page, saying each one as you write it. When the timer ends, you count correct. If you hit the target, you log it. If you miss, you look at which verbs failed. You pick 3 weak ones and run a second short round that targets those 3. That is fast feedback in action. You adjusted based on the exact errors that showed up. Now a writing drill. You choose the sub-skill drafting a topic sentence that states a point. You set the test. Write one sentence that names the point in plain words and passes a read-aloud check for clarity. You write your one-line scope. You take 3 breaths. You set a 10-minute timer. You draft 3 versions of the sentence, each on its own line. You read each one out loud. You pick the clearest. If none pass, you ask a direct question to reset, such as what is this section actually saying? You write a 4th line that answers that question in plain words. You log the result. Next time you can raise the bar by adding a second check, such as does the sentence avoid filler words? You increase difficulty in small steps so the test stays clear. Now a coding drill. You choose the subskill writing a failing test for a bug. You set the test write one test that fails for the right reason and shows a clear error message that names the behavior. You write your scope in one line. You take 3 breaths, you set a 15-minute timer, you write the test, you run it, it fails. You read the message. If the message is vague, you adjust the test to make the failure clear. You run it again. When the test fails for the right reason with a clear message, you log the result. You can then pick a second small move, such as change the function to pass the test, but you keep it as a new block. Unit tests make this drill easy to repeat because they are fast and specific. Now a data drill. You choose the subskill merging 2 tables on a shared column. You set the test confirm 5 known pairs appear as expected and that row counts match your plan. You write your scope in one line. You take 3 breaths. You set a 20-minute timer. You run the merge. You prepare 5 small test rows that you know should match after the merge. You check those rows. If they do not match, you adjust the join rule and run it again. If extra rows appear, you adjust your rule to remove unintended matches. You log the result with a short note about what rule worked. Over a few rounds, you will build a small library of join patterns that you can trust. When you face a new topic, split it into sub-skills first. Do not mix modes. If you are learning a new grammar point, separate recall from usage. Run a recall drill with a fast check. Run a usage drill with 2 or 3 short sentences and a checklist that confirms the rule is present. If you are learning a new code library, separate reading from writing. Spend a short block reading the smallest working example and writing down one behavior. Then spend a short block writing a tiny program that shows that behavior with a unit test that confirms it. If you are learning a new data tool, separate import from transform. Test a tiny import with 3 rows. Confirm types. Then test one transform and confirm 5 sample rows. Splitting removes noise. You see what works and what does not. If a drill feels too hard, shrink the test. Reduce the number of items. Extend the time by a small fixed amount. Lower the pass mark by a small fixed amount. Do not change everything at once. Keep the test clear. When you pass, raise the bar a little next time. If a drill feels too easy, raise the pass mark or reduce the time. Again, keep the change small. The goal is a steady stream of wins that are real. Each win teaches your brain the exact pattern to keep. This is how small steps turn into real skill. Keep your feedback close to the act. If you write and wait a day to check, you lose some of the link between what you wrote and what you will change. If you run code and wait to read the error, you lose the context of what you just changed. If you drill recall and wait to check, you forget which items were shaky. The closer the check is to the move, the stronger the link. That is why a read aloud right after a sentence is powerful. That is why a unit test you can run in a second is powerful. That is why a small quiz that returns a score right away is powerful. You reduce doubt and keep the loop tight. Use your log to track drills. Log the sub-skill, the test, the time, and the pass, or not yet. Add a short note if you made a change that helped. Over a week, you will see patterns. You will learn which sub-skills need more reps. You will learn which tests were too loose or too strict. You will see which tools gave the clearest feedback. Do not add heavy analysis. Let the record speak. Choose your next scopes based on what the record shows. This keeps your practice grounded in real data from your own work. You can also design drills for attention itself. A 10-minute breath practice is a drill. The sub-skill is noticing a thought and returning to the breath. The test is how many times you noticed a thought and returned during the window. The feedback is immediate because you notice the moment the mind wanders. Studies suggest that brief mindfulness practice can improve working memory and reduce mind wandering. This kind of drill supports all other drills because it strengthens your ability to return to the step when your mind drifts. Be careful with reward systems that are random. They pull focus away from the step and into guessing. Keep your rewards simple and predictable, such as a short break after 2 finished blocks. Let the main reward be the pass on a clear test. That pass is tied to your action. It teaches your brain to value the work itself. This keeps your drive steady and helps you start the next block without needing to summon excitement. Tune your tools for fast feedback. Turn on spell check and grammar hints that you trust. Configure your editor to run unit tests with one key. Turn on a linter that marks issues as you type. Prepare tiny datasets for data drills so checks run fast. Keep your test files close at hand. Small technical choices like these remove barriers between action and signal. When the signal is one click away, you will check more often. When you check more often, you will correct sooner. This reduces rework and keeps your mind light. Pay attention to the cost of errors. Some errors are cheap to fix later. Some errors spread. Drills help you find and fix errors early. For example, a bad topic sentence can waste a whole page. A missing test can hide a bug for days. A sloppy join can pollute downstream results. A recall mistake in a core verb can slow every sentence you form. Drills that target these points save time across the whole task. This is not fear. It is a calm way to protect quality where it matters most. If you work in a team, you can share sub-skills and tests. A group can agree that a new function needs a unit test that fails for a clear reason before code changes begin. A group can agree that a design needs a single sentence that states the goal before layout starts. A group can agree that a data merge needs 5 confirmed sample rows before it moves forward. Shared subskills and shared tests reduce debate and raise quality. They also make it easier to review each other's work because the pass rules are visible. If you worry that drills are narrow, remember their purpose. Drills remove noise so that you can learn a pattern quickly. Once you have the pattern, you return to the full task with more control. The point is not to live in drills. The point is to tune parts so that the whole runs better. You will feel this when you return to a full block. Your hands will move with more certainty. Your checks will be faster. Your fixes will be smaller because you will see causes sooner. Keep the spirit of Wu Wei inside each drill. Match effort to the need. Do not add force. Do not add delay. If the drill is selection, select. If the drill is typing, type. If the drill is checking, check. Let the test tell you what to change. Let the pass tell you to move on. You are not trying to impress anyone. You are building skill by putting energy exactly where it counts. As your drills stack up, your log will hold a growing library of what works in your context. You will have short notes that say recall improves when I speak each verb, or topic sentences pass more often when I ask a direct question first, or tests are clearer when I name the behavior in the assertion, or merges are safer when I prepare sample pairs before I code. These notes save you from repeating old mistakes. They also help you teach others if that is part of your role. There is one more layer that will help you catch slips inside the flow of work. Not only in drills, even with fast feedback, some errors are small and easy to miss when you are under load. A brief checklist can catch them. A few lead numbers under your control can point your attention where it needs to go. These tools keep quality steady while you move fast. They do not replace drills. They sit beside them and protect your effort during real tasks. Do small slips cost you more time than the main work? You already have a way to start cleanly, to pick one clear step, to use drills with fast feedback, and to place effort where the task needs it. Now you can add a simple layer that keeps quality steady while you move. The layer has 2 parts. One part is a short checklist that catches slips inside the flow. The other part is a small set of numbers you can control that guide attention day by day. Together, they reduce errors without heavy rules, and they point your energy toward the work that changes outcomes. A checklist is a brief list of key steps or checks you confirm during the work. It is not a thick manual. It is a pause, a read, a confirm, and a proceed. The aim is to catch small errors early before they spread. This idea has strong support in fields where errors are costly. In a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine, hospitals that used a surgical safety checklist saw complications drop from 11% to 7% and deaths drop from 1.5% to 0.8%. The checklist did not add complex tools. It created a short pause, a name check, and a shared confirmation. Many small errors were caught at that moment. The lesson scales to daily work. A brief checklist can support your next small move by making sure the basics are in place. To build a checklist that works, start with stages where you often slip. Name the few checks that protect quality at that stage. Keep the words plain. Place the checklist where you do the work, so you cannot miss it. When you reach that stage, pause for a few seconds. Read each item. Confirm out loud or with a mark. Then proceed. If the list grows long, shorten it. Short lists get used. Long lists get ignored. The goal is not to capture every rule. The goal is to catch the slips that your skill cannot see under load. This is how it looks in writing. Before you send a document, read the subject line once for clarity. Confirm that the main point appears in the first paragraph and run a spell check. This takes a short minute and prevents common pain. In coding, before you commit changes, run all unit tests, scan the output for failures, and read one diff for unintended edits. In data work, before you save a clean file, confirm row counts, check 5 sample rows for key fields, and write 1 note about any rule you applied. In design, before you export an asset, confirm size, format, and naming. Each of these micro checklists fits inside the move. None of them requires a long break. Each one protects the work you just did. Checklists help for a simple reason tied to the mind. Working memory is small. When you hold a step, a rule, and a worry, small pieces fall off. A checklist moves some of that load to paper or to a screen. You read the step instead of trying to hold it. You confirm instead of trusting memory under pressure. This is not a crutch. It is a way to respect the limits of attention so that skill can perform without avoidable slips. You can make checklists visible and social when useful. If you work in a team, place the list in view and ask each person to voice the checks. Voice adds a layer of focus. It makes the pause real. In the study on surgical safety, the pause and the named confirmation were part of the effect. When people slow down enough to name the step, they catch more errors. You can do the same in a code review, a handoff, or a release. Keep the tone neutral. The list is not a test of people. It is a guardrail for the work. Now add the second part, the right numbers. Numbers can pull attention to what you can change. The useful kind is called a lead measure. A lead measure is under your control today, and it predicts change in results. Minutes spent in deep work, number of short blocks finished, number of drills run, lines of code covered by tests, pages drafted, or checklists completed are lead measures. They are actions you can do now. They move the system toward better outcomes. A different kind of number is called a lag measure. A lag measure arrives later and you cannot push it directly. Grades, sales, sign-ups, response times from others, or public likes are lag measures. They tell you what happened after a chain of actions, delays, and outside influences. They matter, but they are not levers you can pull in the moment. If you stare at a lag measure during the work, you fill your small mental space with something you cannot control and you crowd out the step. If you place lead measures in view, you focus on the actions that cause the lag result to change. Pick a small set of lead measures that fit your craft. Place them where you can see them. Update them daily with a pen stroke or a tick. Do not track many. Tracking many numbers creates drag. Tracking a few that you can move today creates direction. If you write, count finished blocks and topic sentences that pass a read aloud check. If you code, count finished blocks and tests added or lines covered by tests. If you work with data, count finished blocks and merges confirmed by sample rows. If you lead a team, count thin slices finished per day and checklists completed at handoff. The act of updating the number is a small, honest signal that work moved. It also prompts a quick decision on the next move. A small bakery used this approach to improve loaf quality. For 4 weeks, they tracked 3 lead measures at each batch. They recorded dough temperature at the end of mixing. They recorded variance in proof time so that batches did not overproof or underproof. They recorded minutes of undisturbed shaping time so that this delicate stage had steady attention. They also set brief checklists for each stage. After 4 weeks, waste dropped by 18%. Customer returns fell from 8 per week to 3 per week. There was no ad spend and no new staff. There was only tighter process and focus on the right numbers. This is a simple case, but it carries a clear point. When you guide attention with measures you can control and you guard execution with checklists, quality rises and waste falls. You can apply the same pattern to your own work. Suppose you want to raise the quality of your reports. Write a 3-item checklist for your final pass. Read the subject. Confirm the main point in the first paragraph. Run a spell check. Pick 2 lead measures you can control this week. Finished blocks and topic sentences that pass a read-aloud check. Put those 2 numbers on a card near your desk. At the end of each block, make a mark. At the end of the day, write the totals. After a week, look at your record. If finished blocks are low, shrink scopes. If topic sentences fail often, add a short drill on topic sentences to your day. The measures guide your next move without blame. In code, you can pick a checklist for commits. Run unit tests. Read 1 diff. Write a clear message. For measures, track tests added and finished blocks. If tests added are low, set a small scope for a test first change. If finished blocks stall, shrink scopes or reduce interruptions. For data, pick a checklist for saves. Confirm row counts, check 5 sample rows, write a change note. For measures, track merges confirmed by samples and minutes of undisturbed analysis. If confirmed merges are low, design a drill for join rules. If undisturbed time is low, shape your space to reduce noise during that block. Do not aim for perfect tracking. Aim for useful tracking. A number is useful if it is simple to update and if it changes your next action in a clear way. If a number does not change your action, drop it. If a checklist item never catches an error, drop it or rewrite it. Keep the system light. The system exists to help the work, not to become the work. When you introduce checklists, you may feel resistance. People sometimes fear that lists will slow them down or insult their skill. The cure is to keep lists short and to show how they protect speed by catching rework. A small pause to confirm a key step is faster than hours spent undoing a mistake. You can test this yourself. Keep a short log for a week of errors caught by your checklist. Note the time saved. Real numbers change minds better than talk. Lead measures also benefit from honesty. If you find yourself gaming a number, change it. For example, if you chase a count of pages drafted by writing pages that you will not use, switch to a count of topic sentences that pass checks. If you chase a count of tests by writing trivial ones, switch to a count of behaviors covered. The measure should reward the action that actually leads to better outcomes. You can find that action by looking at your own record. Where the record shows real gains, build a measure there. Both checklists and lead measures cooperate with the idea of the next small move. They help you see the move, do it cleanly, and choose the next one. The list catches the slip at the right moment. The number tells you whether you are doing enough of the work that matters. You do not need to hold plans and fears while you act. You follow the list, you log the number, and you return to the step. This keeps your small mental space clear and your effort clean. There is a simple way to bring these tools into your start routine. After you write your one-line scope, glance at any checklist that applies to this block. If the block involves a commit, place the commit checklist nearby. If the block ends with a handoff, place the handoff checklist nearby. When you end the block and run your check, update your lead measures with 1 mark. Then write your one-line log. The whole sequence takes a short minute. It gives you a clean finish and a small progress signal that your body can feel. If you work with others, you can share both tools in a light way. During a short sync, each person can name the thin slice they will finish and the checklist they will use at the end. At the close of the day, each person can share the lead numbers they moved. This is not for judgment. It is to make progress visible and to surface blockers early. Shared checklists also reduce debate. When the rule says confirm row counts and 5 sample rows before saving, reviews become easier because everyone knows what pass looks like. You may ask how many checklists and measures you need. Start small. Pick 1 checklist for a stage that often fails and 1 or 2 lead measures that you can move today. Use them for a week. Look at your log. If they help, keep them. If not, adjust. The test is simple. Do errors fall? Do finishes rise? Do you feel less mental load during key steps? Let the record answer. Over time, you will build a small library of checklists and a small set of measures that fit your context. Keep both visible and current. Replace them when your work changes. Remove them when they no longer catch errors. This is a living system. It grows with your skill. As you become more fluent, you may need fewer items on a list. As your role changes, you may need different measures. The core stays the same. Guard quality where slips happen. Guide attention with numbers you can control. All of this rests on the same spirit as Wu Wei and the next small move. You act with fit. You do not add force or delay. A checklist is not force. It is a fit tool at a fit time. A lead measure is not pressure. It is a cue that points at action. When these tools sit in the right place, They fade into the background and quietly keep your work on track. There is one more support that makes checklists and measures work even better. It is the rhythm of your day and the shape of your space. Short cycles with short breaks help attention. Spaced reviews turn knowledge into memory. A clear desk, one window, and the phone out of sight remove pulls on your mind. These small choices reduce strain and help you use your lists and numbers without friction. When memory is fresh and the room is quiet, errors are easier to catch and lead measures are easier to move. Do you forget what you learn after some days, even when you study hard? You now have tools that guide action in the present. You start with a clean scope, you fit effort to the step, you use drills with fast feedback, and you protect quality with simple checklists and lead numbers. There is another layer that makes all of this easier. It is memory and space. When memory is fresh, each move costs less effort. When your space is clear, each move faces less pull from the side. You can shape both with small habits that do not add weight to your day. Memory holds better when you practice recall at short intervals that spread out over time. This is called spaced retrieval. In simple words, you try to bring an item to mind before you look at the answer, and you do this again after a gap, then again after a longer gap, and so on. Each recall strengthens the path to that item. Rereading is not the same. Rereading shows the answer to your eyes, but it does not force the mind to find the path. Recall builds the path because you ask the mind to fetch the item. You can use a very simple plan. When you learn new items today, review them the next day. Review them again after 3 days. Review them again after 1 week. Review them again after 1 month. Each review begins with recall. You try to produce the answer. Only then do you check. This plan fits well with the short blocks you already use. At the start of a block, spend a few minutes on recall for the items that are due today. Keep it short so it does not crowd the main scope. If you are learning a language, bring verbs or phrases to mind without notes, then check and correct. If you are learning code, try to write a small function or an example from memory, then run it and fix mistakes. If you are learning data methods, try to write the steps for a simple transform from memory, then test on a tiny set of rows. If you are learning a topic from a book, try to state the key idea in 1 or 2 lines, then check the book and adjust. The form can change with the task. The rule is the same. Recall first, check second. You do not need a complex system to track reviews. A single page or a small set of cards works. Write each item on its own line or its own card. Note the date when you first learn it. Mark when you review it. When the next day comes, review the items from yesterday. When 3 days pass, review those items. When 1 week passes, review those items. When 1 month passes, review those items. If you miss a day, do not worry. Pick up from where you are. The power is in the pattern over time, not in perfection. If an item feels solid before 1 month, you can drop it early. If an item feels weak at 1 month, keep it in rotation with another pass a week later. Let the test be recall itself. If recall is smooth and quick, the item can rest. If recall is slow or stuck, the item needs another visit. Many people default to rereading because it feels easier in the moment. The words look familiar. That feeling can mislead. Familiarity is not the same as the ability to bring the idea back when you need it. Recall checks that ability directly. It feels harder than rereading, but it saves time in the end because each recall sticks. You also learn where your gaps are without guesswork. A missed recall shows you where to aim the next small move. This keeps your study honest and focused. You can shape recall prompts to fit clean effort. Keep each prompt small and specific. For a language, 1 verb in 1 tense is a prompt. For code, 1 behavior with 1 input is a prompt. For data, 1 join rule with 1 expected pair is a prompt. For a topic, 1 claim that you can state in 1 line is a prompt. Small prompts make it easier to test yourself in a short time. They also fit the way working memory operates when you act. You do not need to hold a whole chapter in mind to do 1 step. You need the exact item that the step uses. Your log can hold a simple note about spaced reviews. When you start a block with recall, write a short line at the end that says how many items you recalled and how it went. You can say, recalled 10 verbs, 2 misses, corrected. You can say, recalled sort function from memory, past test, time 2 minutes. You can say, recalled main point of section 3, needed 1 look, then restated cleanly. These short notes will show you that recall becomes easier with spacing. They will also show you where to add a small drill. If one area keeps failing recall, design a drill for that sub-skill and run it in a later block. Spacing is not only for facts, it also helps with small procedures. If you are learning a new tool, write the steps for one action and try to perform them from memory after a day, then after 3 days, then after a week. For example, importing a file and confirming types is a small procedure. Merging 2 tables on a key is a small procedure. Running a unit test from your editor is a small procedure. Each one can be recalled in a short window and checked right away. These small wins turn tools from vague knowledge into usable skill. Keep the review windows short. 5 minutes at the start of a block can be enough for recall, especially if the prompts are small. If the set grows large, trim it. Drop items that are solid. Group items by topic and rotate groups across days. The goal is not to hold every item forever. The goal is to strengthen the items that support your next steps. When you plan a day, pair recall with the blocks that use those items. If you plan to write code that uses a library, recall the key calls for that library before you start the block. If you plan to write about a topic, recall the key claims and facts before you draft. This pairing helps the mind use fresh paths right away. It also creates more progress signals because you will feel the effect of recall inside the main task. Memory needs rest to settle. Short breaks between blocks help. Good sleep helps. Even a brief walk helps. You do not need to track all of this. You can observe it. If recall feels dull and slow across the board, it is a sign to stop for a short time or to switch to a lighter scope. If recall pops back quickly, you can continue. Let your log reflect this. Right, recall felt dull, took a short walk. Next block felt clear. You are not searching for a perfect state. You are shaping conditions that give memory a fair chance. Space matters too. The room and the screen can either support recall and focus or cut into them. There is solid evidence for this. In the year 2017, a group led by Adrian Ward ran studies on how the presence of a smartphone affects mental capacity. They found that when a phone is in view, even when it is off, the mind has fewer resources available for the task. In plain words, the device pulls at attention just by being there. You do not need to accept this on faith. You can test it. Do a short recall set with the phone on the desk. Do another short recall set with the phone in another room. Note the difference in ease and accuracy. Many people find the second set easier. The study shows why. The phone in view keeps a small part of attention on alerts, which reduces what is left for recall and for careful steps. You can act on this with one small habit. Place the phone in another room during focused blocks and during recall sets. If you cannot, place it face down, out of view, and silent. Better yet, place it in a bag or a drawer. These are small acts, but they release attention for the work. Do not argue with yourself about willpower. Design the space so your next move has fewer pulls. Screens can pull as well. Many open windows ask for attention. Each one is a door to another task. During a block, close what you do not need. Use one window for the work. If you need reference material, keep it ready but hidden until the step calls for it. At the start of a block, do a quick scan of the screen. Close tabs that do not serve the scope. Minimize tools that are not needed now. This short scan keeps drag out of the first minutes. It also helps you stay in one mode, which protects accuracy. Noise affects recall and control. If you can reduce noise, do it. Close a door. Ask for quiet during a short window. Use simple noise masking if you need to. You do not need a perfect silence. You need fewer sudden pulls. Good light and a clear desk reduce strain too. If the light is too low, eyes work harder and focus drops sooner. If the surface is covered, the mind has more to sort. A clear area with the tool you need in reach tells your mind what to do next without words. This is not decoration, it is support for the next small move. Set up a simple room scan as part of your start routine. You sit, you write your one-line scope, you take 3 slow breaths. Before you set the timer, you look around for 5 seconds. Phone out of sight. One window open, noise low, light steady, tool in reach. That is enough. You do not need to clean the whole room. You prepare the space so that it does not fight your intention. This scan becomes quick once you do it a few times. It saves you from a dozen small pulls later. You can combine the room scan with spaced recall in a smooth way. At the very start of a work session, do a tiny recall set for items that matter today. Then do the room scan and begin your first block. At the end of the block, log your result and note if any recall items need another pass. Later in the day, do a second tiny recall set for items at the 3-day mark or the 1-week mark. Keep each set short. The point is to keep memory fresh without turning recall into a heavy task. If you share a space with others, talk about quiet windows that last a short time. Short windows are easier to respect. You can say you need 15 minutes where you will not respond. You can place a small sign. You can agree on times with your team for focused work. These are small agreements. They protect the flow of many people at once. They also reduce the need for reminders because the time box is clear and short. Recall can help teams too. Before a group session, each person can try to recall the key points of the topic without looking, then check and bring any gaps to the meeting. This reduces long searches during the session. It keeps talk on facts that are fresh. It also speeds decisions because people carry the needed items in their active memory. A team can also use a short checklist for the room itself. Devices out of view, one shared screen, clear agenda on one line. These steps do not require long time. They reduce pulls and make the group's next move clear. You can test all of this with a small trial. For 1 week, add spaced recall to the start of your day and keep the phone out of sight during your first 2 blocks. Keep your review sets short. Keep your room scan short. Log how recall feels and how blocks go. At the end of the week, read your log and see if starts felt easier, if recall errors fell, and if finishes rose. Do not worry if the effect is small at first. Small gains add up. The aim is to build conditions that support the way your mind works, not to chase a perfect state. As you practice, you will notice that recall becomes faster. You will also notice that a clear space makes it easier to hold your one-line scope in mind. You will feel fewer sudden urges to check other things. When urges do appear, it will be easier to return without drama. The return is what matters. Each return strengthens the link between intention and action. Spaced recall strengthens the link between learning and use. A calm room strengthens the link between attention and the object. These links make clean effort more natural. All of these elements fit the same spirit. You keep attention on what is here now. You build small wins that your body can feel. You remove pulls that you do not need. You let the task lead your next move. With memory fresh and space clear, your steps become lighter. You can see the next finish, and you can complete it without waste. When more than one person works this way at the same time, a group can align with less talk and fewer slips. The same logic that helps one person can help a team finish thin slices with steady quality and a pace that holds over many days. Does your team feel busy all day but struggle to finish clear pieces of work? You have seen how one person can hold a clean scope, start with a short routine, fit effort to the step, and use small checks and records to guide the next move. The same logic works when many people work together. A group does not need heavy plans to stay aligned. It needs small, clear finishes that are visible to all, and a simple rhythm that protects attention and pace. The most useful unit at team scale is a thin slice. A thin slice is one piece of work that one person can finish in a day or less, with a clear check that shows it is done. The check can be a passing test, a line read aloud that makes sense, a field confirmed in a sample, or a file exported with the right name and size. The slice does not try to cover a whole project. It moves the system forward by a small, concrete step that others can see. When a team works in thin slices, each person can point to the next finish. This makes coordination simple because the plan for the day is the slice itself. You can shape slices from almost any kind of work. In software, a slice can be one new behavior verified by a unit test and visible in a small screen change. In writing, a slice can be one section with a topic sentence and a short paragraph that supports it. In data, a slice can be one join rule implemented and confirmed by 5 sample rows. In support, a slice can be one help article updated with the latest steps and reviewed by a second person. The key parts are the same. One person can finish it. The finish is clear. The check is built in. Once slices are defined, limit the number of active items per person. A simple rule works well. Each person holds at most 3 active items. Active means started and not yet finished. Everything else waits. This rule cuts switching. It keeps attention on finishes rather than on starts. It also makes blockers visible because when items cannot move, people cannot hide them by starting more. The limit is not punishment. It is a way to keep the shared mental space of the team clear, just as you clear your own mind for one move at a time. A short daily sync keeps slices flowing. Keep it to 5 minutes. Meet near the work or on a single screen. Each person states one sentence that names the next slice they will finish and one sentence that names any blocker. No long stories. No problem solving in that moment. The goal is to name the next finish and to surface obstacles. Problem solving can happen right after with the few people who need to be there. This small rhythm keeps the whole group aligned without long meetings. It also reduces the need for status reports because finishes are visible. Finish slices before starting new ones. This sounds obvious and is often ignored. When people start many items and finish few, the team looks busy, but value does not move. A visible board or a simple list can help. Place slices in 3 states, not started, in progress, and done. Keep it in one window or on one wall. When a slice moves to done, mark it with a date in words and a short note about the check that passed. This record builds trust and gives the team a simple way to review progress at a glance. It also supports quick learning because each slice includes its own check and result. Use shared checklists at handoffs. A handoff is when one person finishes a slice and another person starts the next related slice. Slips happen at these edges. A short checklist reduces them. For a code handoff, confirm tests pass, read one diff, and write a clear commit message. For a report handoff, confirm the main point is stated, references are cited, and the file name follows the rule. For a data handoff, confirm row counts, check 5 sample rows, and write a change note. Keep checklists very short so they get used. The purpose is to catch common slips in the moment, not to add process for its own sake. Guide attention with the right numbers. Many teams track lag measures like sales, grades, or likes. These arrive later and depend on many outside forces. They matter, but they do not tell you what to do today. Add a few lead measures that you control and that predict change. Slices finished per day is a lead measure. Average age of items in progress is a lead measure. Minutes of undisturbed work during focus windows is a lead measure. Tests added for new behaviors is a lead measure. Place these numbers where the team can see them. Update them daily with a pen stroke or a tick. If slices finished are low and item age is high, shrink slice size. If undisturbed minutes are low, change the room or the schedule to protect quiet windows. The numbers are not for blame. They are cues that point to the next small move at team scale. Protect pace with ceilings, not only targets. A target says what you hope to hit. A ceiling says where you stop. Set a maximum daily intensity for the team. That line can be the number of focus blocks per person, or the total hours of deep work per day. or the maximum number of active items across the team. When the line is hit, stop starting new slices, finish what is open, then rest. This protects quality because tired minds miss details and create rework. It also protects morale because people know there is an end to the push each day. Add a light week every 4 to 6 weeks. A light week is a period where the team reduces scope on purpose. You finish small maintenance, clean tools, improve checklists, and run short drills on weak subskills. You do not try to move big pieces. This simple rhythm prevents slow decline. It also catches issues that people usually ignore during busy weeks. You can schedule the light week on a calendar so it does not get skipped. When people know it is coming, they can park small fixes for that time instead of cramming them into busy days. Run a morning scan for early signs of decline. Each person can do this in under 1 minute. Look for poor sleep, rising errors, tight shoulders, and irritability. If 2 signs show up for a person, cut scope by 20% for that day. That means smaller slices or fewer blocks. This is not a failure. It is a guardrail that protects pace over months. You can note the adjustment in the team log so that changes in output do not come as a surprise. Over time, this habit prevents crashes that cost much more than a small daily cut. Make blocked work visible and short. A blocked item is one that cannot move because it needs something from outside the person doing it. Mark blocked items with a clear tag. If an item stays blocked longer than 1 day, change something. You can split the slice so part of it can finish. You can ask for help with a crisp question. You can move the item to a person who has the missing access or skill. Do not carry blocked items for many days. They fill the board and hide the real state of work. A team that moves blocked items quickly spends less time waiting and fewer weeks guessing delivery dates. Keep problem solving small and close to the work. After the 5-minute sync, the few people who need to solve a blocker can meet for 10 to 15 minutes. Define one small test or one small action that can move the item. Run it. If it works, log it and proceed. If it does not, log it and choose the next small action. This keeps decisions tied to the task, not to opinions. It also prevents long debates because the next test is often obvious once the blocker is named clearly. Shape the room to support team focus. Use one shared screen during the sync so everyone looks at the same board. Keep phones out of view during focus windows. Reduce noise where possible. Agree on short, quiet periods when people will not tap shoulders or send messages except for urgent issues. Short, clear, quiet periods are easier to honor than vague requests for fewer interruptions. When the room helps, the team can hold more thin slices in flow without fraying attention. Keep language plain in slices and in checks. A slice should be named in one line that any teammate can understand. A check should be named in one line that anyone can run. Plain language removes debate and speeds handoffs. It also makes it easier to review progress because you can read the board aloud and know what it means. If names grow vague, stop and rewrite them. This takes a short minute and saves hours of confusion. Use the team log as a simple record. At the end of each day, write a short note that lists slices finished, notable blockers, and any adjustments to pace. Use words, not codes. Include the date in words. Over weeks, this log becomes a record of what the team actually did. It helps with planning because you can see how many slices you finish in a typical week, which kinds stall, and which checks catch errors. It also helps with trust because you can show stakeholders a stream of real finishes rather than promises. Here is a plain example. A small product team needs user sign-in, password reset, and profile edit. They define a slice for sign-in that one person can finish in 1 day. The slice is a small form that accepts email and password, sends the request, and shows a clear error on bad credentials. The check is a unit test for success and failure and a visual check of the error message. One person takes this slice. 2 others take thin slices for the password reset email template and for the profile edit layout skeleton. At the 5-minute sync, each person names the slice and any blocker. One person needs a test account. That is a blocker. Another person needs copy approval for the email. That is a blocker. After the sync, the needed help is requested with a clear, single question. By the afternoon, the first slice is done and moved to the done column with the date and the checks listed. The team log notes 1 finish and 2 blockers. The next day, help arrives. The other slices finish. This flow is simple to see and simple to adjust. It does not need a long meeting because the board and the checks do the talking. Another example from a clinic can be just as simple. The team wants to improve discharge notes. The thin slice is one updated template that includes 3 key fields and a short checklist for review. One nurse owns the slice and finishes it in 1 day. The check is a peer read that confirms the fields are present and clear. The lead measure is discharge notes that pass the checklist. A light week is placed on the calendar for template cleanups and tool fixes. The morning scan catches early signs of strain. If 2 signs appear, the nurse reduces scope for that day and focuses on the most important notes. Quality holds and the change lands without extra stress. Do not let the board become a dumping ground. If many items enter and few finish, stop new entries for a short time. Review what is in progress. Split items that are too big. Remove items that are not needed now. Decide what will finish this week and what will wait. A brief reset like this returns focus to finishes and clears the path for the next slices. You can note the reset in the team log and in the daily numbers so the effect is visible. Protect handoffs with small rules. When a slice moves from person to person, require a short note that says what changed, what check passed, and what the next person should do. Keep it to 1 or 2 lines. Place it with the slice on the board or in the commit message or in the document header. This avoids confusion and cuts the time people spend asking for context. It also reduces errors because the next person sees the state clearly. Keep emergency work within the same frame. Sometimes a sudden issue appears. Do not throw out the system. Define a thin slice that addresses the core of the issue. Name the check, set a short window, assign 1 person, pause lower priority slices for that person, run the slice. When it finishes, record it. If more work is needed, define the next slice. This keeps even urgent work clear and reduces the chance of rushing into large, vague tasks that cause more trouble. Respect recovery. End the day with a clean stop. Do not start a new slice in the last minutes unless it is truly small. Leave a clear first slice named for the next morning. This simple act lowers the barrier to starting the next day. It also prevents late-night drift where people hold too many items in mind without finishing. A clean stop is a team habit that supports quality and mood. Review the system with a light touch. Once a week, read the team log for the last 5 days. Look at the lead measures. Ask 1 question. What small adjustment would make next week smoother? Pick 1. Try it. Log the result. If it helps, keep it. If not, drop it. No one needs a long meeting to do this. The record and the numbers make the next test obvious. Over months, these small adjustments improve flow without heavy change programs. Teach the team to use simple triggers. A trigger is a clear cue that starts an action without debate. When the clock shows the start of the day, the 5-minute sync begins. When a slice finishes, the person writes the check note and moves the card. When 2 signs of decline appear, scope is cut by 20% for that day. These triggers remove hesitation. They save willpower for the work. They also make the system resilient because actions happen even when people are tired. Keep skepticism friendly. Do not accept a rule just because it is common. Test it in your context. If limiting active items to 3 feels wrong, run a 2-week trial and measure slices finished and item age. If the 5-minute sync feels too short, measure with a 7-minute trial and see if finishing improves. Let data from your own record guide you. This stance keeps the team honest and curious. It also builds a habit of making choices based on results rather than on habit. Over time, A team that uses thin slices, short sinks, shared checklists, and a few lead measures will see work become more predictable. Errors fall earlier. Delivery dates are based on visible finishes rather than on guesswork. People feel calmer because they control their steps and because the system protects them from overload. The pace holds over months, not by pushing harder, but by placing energy where it counts and by stopping at clear lines. This is the same spirit that has guided each chapter so far. Small, clean moves, clear checks, honest records, simple cues. When a group shares that spirit, the work aligns without strain and improves through small tests that fit into ordinary days. Do you start strong and then slip back into old habits? Your work now runs on small, clear steps. You can set a one-line scope, breathe, work in a short block, check, and log. In a team, you can finish thin slices, keep a short sink, and protect pace with simple limits. The next layer is to make your whole system easier to follow without extra willpower. You can do this by setting clear cues that start actions, by training attention so it returns faster, and by running small tests that fit into ordinary days. These elements turn your process into a living system that adapts to your context with proof rather than hope. A cue removes debate at the moment of action. A cue is a simple if-then plan. If this trigger happens, then I do this action. If-then plans work because they decide ahead of time, before pressure arrives. They tie intention to a time, a place, or a preceding act. Research by Peter Goldwetzer shows that these simple triggers raise follow-through across many kinds of tasks. The plan is not force, it is clarity. It saves your small mental space from carrying choices while you act. You can tie cues to time. You can choose, if it is 8 o'clock, then I open the editor. You can tie cues to place. You can choose, if I sit at the desk, then I write the scope in one line. You can tie cues to a preceding act. You can choose, if I finish a block, then I log one line. Each cue has two parts you can say out loud in a few seconds. The trigger is plain. The action is plain. There is no room for debate because the plan already chose for you. You keep the cue short so it is easy to remember and easy to spot. Fold these cues into the routine you already use. When you sit, say the scope line. When your hands touch the keyboard, take 3 slow breaths. When the timer rings, stop and run the check. When you stand up, mark the lead measure you track. These are simple if-then pairs. They do not add weight. They reduce friction because they cut small hesitations. They also help on tired days when your mind would rather wander. The cue starts the move without a long back and forth in your head. If a cue does not fire, do not blame yourself. Treat it as a design issue. Adjust the trigger so it is easier to detect. If 8 o'clock is noisy in your house, shift to a place cue such as the desk. If the desk is shared, tie the cue to a preceding act such as placing the notebook on the table. Change one cue at a time and write the change in your log. Give each change 2 days to settle before you judge it. This small patience prevents churn and gives you a clear record of what helps. A second layer is attention training. Many people find that a short breath practice improves their ability to return to the task. The practice is simple. Sit in a stable position. Set a timer for 10 minutes. Feel one breath at a time. When the mind wanders, note thinking and return to the breath. The note is quiet and kind. It does not judge. It helps you notice that you left and choose to return. You are not trying to stop thoughts. You are training the return. In the year 2013, a study by Michael Mrazek and colleagues found that brief mindfulness training improved working memory and reading comprehension while reducing mind wandering on tests. In plain words, people held details better and drifted less. You can place this breath practice at the start of your day or before a hard block. The goal is not a special state. The goal is a stronger return. A stronger return supports everything in this book. It helps you come back to the one-line scope when your mind jumps to outcomes. It helps you come back to a drill when boredom appears. It helps you come back to a checklist when rush appears. You feel the drift sooner and you guide yourself back with less effort. Write one line in your log after practice. You can say, breath practice 10 minutes. Mind wandered often, returned each time. Over weeks, you will see a change in how fast you return during work. The third layer is small tests. A small test is a short trial to see whether a change helps in your context. The test runs for a fixed short period, often 2 days. It has a clear stop. It has a simple way to read the result. You use your log and your lead measures to judge, not feelings alone. This stance keeps curiosity alive and keeps claims honest. It also reduces the risk of large swings in your process. You do not overhaul your routine on a whim. You test one tweak. You keep what works. You drop what does not. Pick one change to test. Tie it to a cue, a scope size, a tool, a check, or your space. State what you expect to see in plain words. Then run the test for 2 days. For example, you can test a time cue. You can choose if it is 8 o'clock, then I open the editor and write one line of scope. You expect to start the first block by 8:10. You log whether the cue fired and whether the first block began on time. Or you can test a scope change. You can choose to shrink scope so that they fit into 20 minutes instead of 25 minutes. You expect to finish more blocks with clean checks. You log finished blocks and any slips. Or you can test a space change. You can place your phone in another room during your first 2 blocks. You expect fewer pulls and fewer errors on checks. You log how the blocks felt and how many checks passed on the first try. You can test a checklist change. You can add a read aloud pass to your writing check. You expect fewer edits later. You log whether you needed fewer changes in later passes. You can test a tool change. You can configure your editor to run unit tests with one key. You expect to run tests more often. You log how many times you ran tests per block. Each test is small and low risk. Each test ends in 2 days. At the end, you read your log and decide. If the change helped, keep it and scale 1 notch. If the change did not help, archive the note and return to your prior method. Archive here means keep the note but stop the change. This keeps noise down and keeps your library of tests intact. Scaling 1 notch means a small increase that does not break the system. If a 20-minute scope size helped, you can try 25 minutes next week. If the time cue at 8 o'clock helped, you can add a second cue at 2 o'clock. If the read aloud check helped, you can add it to 2 more document types. Do not jump to a full overhaul. The power of this method is in small, steady gains that you can verify. Your log is the guide. It shows where gains come from and where they do not. Over months, your log becomes a personal library of what works. You will have short entries that say cue at 8 o'clock fires and improves starts, or phone out of room reduces slips in checks, or 5 sample rows catch most merge errors, or 3 breaths settle start jitters, or 10-minute breath practice increases return speed. These lines are worth more than borrowed advice because they fit your tasks, your body, and your environment. They prevent you from repeating old mistakes. They help you teach your own system to others with short proofs instead of slogans. Use tags if it helps search your notes. You can mark entries with words such as cue, space, check, scope, or drill. You can do this in the margin or at the end of the line. Keep it simple. The goal is to find patterns fast when you scan a month of entries. You will start to see that certain tags cluster around good days. You can plan more of those. You will start to see that certain tags appear on tough days. You can plan fewer of those or pair them with support, such as smaller scopes or longer rests. Maintain friendly skepticism toward every change. If a new app promises focus, test it for 2 days with a clear stop. If a new method promises speed, test it for 2 days with a clear measure. Do not argue for or against in the abstract. Let results decide. This stance keeps you from chasing trends. It also keeps you from dismissing a simple tweak that might help. You respect evidence, and you make evidence cheap to gather by keeping tests small. Cues can also help at team scale. The 5-minute sync can begin when the clock shows the start of the day. A card can move to done when the check note is written. Scope can be cut by 20% when two signs of decline show in the morning scan. These are if-then plans at group level. They remove debate and protect attention. You can test small team changes with the same 2-day rule. You can try a 7-minute sync for 2 days and measure slices finished and item age. You can try a mid-week quiet window for 2 days and measure undisturbed minutes. You keep what helps. You archive what does not. Attention practice can be shared too. A group can start the day with a quiet minute to breathe. People can sit, feel one breath, and begin. There is no need to talk about it at length. The aim is to set a tone of care from the first minute. Some teams find that this tiny pause reduces chatter in the first block and makes starts smoother. You can test this for 2 days and log the effect. The log will show whether it helps your group. Use your lead measures to read tests. Finished blocks, tests run, topic sentences that pass, merges confirmed, minutes of undisturbed work, and checklists completed are all under your control. If a cue or a tool helps, these numbers will change. If they do not change, the benefit may be in feel rather than in output, or it may be wishful thinking. Your record keeps the call honest. If output does not move, you can still keep a change if it reduces strain in a clear way. Note that reason. Clarity prevents drift. Not every day will be smooth. On some days, cues will fail, breath will feel rough, and tests will show no gain. On those days, return to the minimum. Write 1 line of scope. Take 3 breaths. Start a short block. Run 1 check. Log 1 line. This minimum keeps your system alive. It keeps your trust in your hands. The next day you can adjust. A living system does not break because one day went sideways. It bends and returns. Protect recovery while you evolve. Ceilings matter as much as targets. Stop at your daily line. Place a light week every 4 to 6 weeks. Use the morning scan. If 2 signs show, cut scope for the day. These rules were set to guard the long run. No experiment should overrule them. If a test adds strain, stop it early. The stop is part of the plan. Your library gains a note that says, "This change crossed the line." That is useful knowledge. Be patient with attention training. The benefit often shows up as a small shift in how fast you return to the step. You may not feel a dramatic change. Your log will show fewer slips and cleaner checks. That is enough. The aim is not to become someone else. The aim is to help your own mind do what it already knows how to do, with less drag and less extra push. Over time, these cues, this practice, and these small tests make your work feel solid. You begin sessions without wrestling with yourself. You hold steps with care because your mind is not stuffed with extras. You see errors sooner and correct them with less fuss. You choose changes based on short trials rather than on moods. You carry a record that shows where your time went and what moved. Calm grows because your plan lives in actions you control. Results still matter, but they arrive as reports that guide the next step, not as orders that steal your attention. The path you build is not guessed. It is formed by steps, by checks, and by signals that your body and your record can see. You set a cue, you take 1 small move, you log 1 line, you adjust by test, you repeat. This simple loop is strong because each part serves the same end. Energy goes where the task needs it. Attention lands on the present step. Feedback arrives fast. The record keeps score without drama. From this base, you can extend your work for years with steady care. You will trust your own process because you built it from actions that fit, that you verified in your own context, and that you can return to at any time without strain.